to Weekly World News on SpringNectar TV, brought to you by Vibha Ramesh, Los Angeles, United States. First, the top headlines. Condo in Miami collapses, over 150 missing. European Union citizens struggle for post-Brexit status. Inquiry into Brazil's response to COVID reveals shocking facts. Indo-Japanese ties strengthen. Delta Plus variant is a new concern in India. Unusual discovery led scientists to rethink evolution. Moving on to news in detail. In an unfortunate incident, a 12-story condo in Miami, Florida collapsed a little over an hour after midnight on Thursday and trapped several residents under the rubble. Rescuers were promptly deployed on the site, but the heavy rain hindered their rescue operations to a large extent, thereby leading them to work in 15-minute shifts 24 hours a day. News has it that as of Sunday, 156 people were reported missing and 9 dead. Disaster relief continues into day 4, and all efforts are being coordinated by the Department of Homeland Security and Federal Emergency Management Agency. Commenting on the shocking incident, Miami-Dade Mayor remarked, "It's the unimaginable. A massive search and rescue mission is underway. We're going to do everything we can possibly do to identify, and 11 injuries so far have been reported, with 4 people treated at hospitals." According to an article in New York Times, an engineer consultant had identified a major structural damage way back in 2018, which was left unrepaired. The true extent of damage is yet to be unraveled as rescue operations are still underway, as Mayor Silva remarked at a press conference on Sunday morning. "We're making every effort to identify those others that have been recovered." Meanwhile, on Friday, the court pronounced the sentence for Derek Chauvin for the murder of George Floyd. To that extent, the former Minneapolis police officer was sentenced to 22 years and 6 months in prison. Moving on. The deadline to apply for post-Brexit settled status is fast approaching, and European Union citizens are scrambling to turn in their applications on time. The European Union settlement scheme entitles post-Brexit rights to European Union residents, and the deadline to apply for the same is just 3 days away, and the Home Office is overwhelmed with the last-minute hike in applications as several applicants struggle with long lines and inaccessibility of advice on the government helpline. News has it that out of 5.6 million applications, only 5.3 million have been processed. Considering the backlog of applications, an extension would alleviate the rush. While France extended its deadline by another 3 months to secure post-Brexit resident status, the UK's immigration minister scrapped the possibility of an extension. Over to Brazil. A congressional inquiry into the government's mismanagement of the COVID crisis points to shocking evidence of Bolsonaro's administration having committed crimes against life. The investigation, led by a senior politician, was launched in April following the loss of over 500,000 lives to COVID. Testimonies from officials and authentic documents dug up during the investigation points to evidence such as the government's dismissal to purchase vaccines in 2020, irregularities in securing Covaxin from India, and failure to ensure adequate supply of oxygen concentrators, among several others. As Senator Omar Aziz stated, "The most shocking thing is the realization of how negligent the government has been on so many issues. There is no Brazilian today who does not know someone who died from COVID, no Brazilian who has not lost a relative member, a neighbor, a friend." And in Israel, a spike in new single-day cases of COVID-19 has moved the government to reinstate the mandatory wearing of masks in closed public spaces. Barely 10 days after the restrictions were lifted, the country showed a sudden uptick in the number of new coronavirus cases. This unanticipated surge has thrown the nation out of gear. The reinstatement announcement was made by the head of Israel's Pandemic Response Task Force when over 100 new cases were recorded over 4 consecutive days. In the words of Ash, "We're seeing a doubling every few days. Another thing that's worrying is the infections are spreading. If we had 2 cities where most of the infections were, we have more cities where the numbers are rising and communities where the cases are going up. He also hinted that the surge could have been caused by the traveler carriers of the deadly Delta variant returning to Israel. Moving on to India, the Delta Plus variant of the virus has been in the news for having a more serious effect on patients. Following the warning by Dr. Ganga Khedkar, former head scientist at ICMR, the Union Health Ministry warned states that the Delta Plus is a variant of concern, as it possesses increased transmissibility and has the possibility of reducing monoclonal antibody response. Going by data, there are over 50 cases of the Delta Plus variant across the states. According to Dr. Ganga Khedkar, there is no data as of now that Delta Plus is spreading faster than Delta. But Delta has spread a lot and Delta is a variant of concern for sure. Since it's a variant of concern, you have to also treat Delta Plus as a variant of concern, he said. Data from the coronavirus dashboard shows 50,040 new cases and 1,258 deaths recorded on Sunday. This brought the summated total to 30,233,183 infections. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated the Zen Garden and Kaizen Academy as he mentioned the strengthening of ties between India and Japan. After the virtual reopening at Ahmedabad Management Association, he stated at a press conference, "The current Prime Minister of Japan, Yoshihide Suga, is a very straightforward person. PM Suga and I believe during this COVID-19 pandemic crisis, the Indo-Japanese friendship and our partnership has become even more relevant for global stability and prosperity. Today, when we are facing several global challenges, it is the need of the time that our friendship and relationship get stronger day by day." Ending this bulletin with a revelation from China. The fossil of a massive human head was discovered in a Chinese well. Dating back to at least 90 years, the fossilized skull has changed the perspective of scientists about the core of human evolution. According to sources, the remains revealed a surprisingly new branch of family tree that seems more connected to modern man than the Neanderthals. Consequently, Chinese researchers have named the fossil Homo longi, or Dragon Man. Said Professor Chris Stringer, who worked on the project and is a research leader at the Natural History Museum in London. "I think this is one of the most important finds of the past 50 years. It's a wonderfully preserved fossil. News has it that the skull is 23 centimeters long and more than 15 centimeters wide, which is more likely to match the dimensions of modern Homo sapiens." With that, I bring you to the end of this bulletin. I'll see you again next Friday with more world news on Spring Nectar TV. Thank you for watching.